Hi everybody, Michelle McClunan here, astrologer and life coach, coming to you with another astrology update for the full moon that we're heading towards on the 22nd of August. This is quite a special full moon because it's a blue moon. It doesn't mean that the sky is blue or the moon is blue. It basically means that we have two full moons in a row in the same sign. So we had a full moon on the 23rd of July in the sign of Aquarius, and now we've got another full moon in the sign of Aquarius on the 22nd of August. It doesn't happen often that it happens twice in the same sign, which is why it's a blue moon. And this one is quite a big one, quite an important one. I always say that, but full moons are always a culmination point. It's always a time when things are illuminated, situations are illuminated, and certain themes are kind of brought up to the surface. Later on in the evening of the full moon, the sun actually moves into Virgo. So it's almost that the full moon is kind of the grand finale of our time that we've spent in Leo this month, which has been about creativity, about sovereignty, about who are we, how do we stand in our truth, in our sovereignty, in our rightful kind of creative essence. That's what the theme of Leo has been. And it's kind of ending with a big flourish because it's ending with this second full moon in Aquarius. And there's a lot of Aquarian energy happening this time round. Aquarius is the sign of the free spirit, the maverick, the unconventional one, the one who breaks the rules. And this full moon is preceded by the ruler of Aquarius, which is the planet called Uranus, which is actually turning retrograde the day before. So there's a lot of emphasis on Aquarian energy. First of all, you've got Uranus turning retrograde. It's also in a square to Saturn still, which I've been talking about all year. And we've got the moon in Aquarius opposite the sun in Leo. And we've got two other planets, Saturn and Jupiter, also in the sign of Aquarius. So there's a lot of Aquarian energy. So let's just look at that. What does that actually mean? What is Uranus about? Uranus is a planet that's associated with revolution, with awakening, with consciousness, with raising our awareness to higher states of consciousness, to escaping the boxes of society. That's the energy of Uranus. As the ruler of Aquarius, we're all familiar with the age of Aquarius and the songs that Hare sang about the dawning of the age of Aquarius, which was a new age, a new dawning, a new vision. That was really what the age of Aquarius was promising. And we kind of seem to be really in it now, even though we've been talking about it for many, many years. This really does seem to be that dawning of the age of Aquarius, because there's so much Uranian or Aquarian energy around, especially now. We have Saturn in Aquarius, we have Jupiter in Aquarius, we have obviously the other planets moving through Aquarius, and then in a couple of years' time, we'll have Pluto in Aquarius as well. So it's very much a Uranian Aquarian feel. And if you look at this full moon, it seems to be bringing that out into the open more. So themes that are associated with Uranus and Aquarius are freedom. Freedom is one of the biggest themes. What is freedom? What's the opposite of freedom? And we've seen this all over the world with the protests and the human rights, people standing up and saying, no, we don't agree with this. What about our rights? What about our human rights? What about our voice? What about the voice of the people? And that's definitely the theme of this year. So Uranus is about freedom, and it's been opposed by the traditions. Uranus and Aquarius are always associated with new, with visionary, with moving into the new. And Saturn, which is kind of pulling at it, is saying stay the same, sort of keep the systems the same. And this is really about the breaking down of those systems so that a new vision can be born, both individually and collectively. The other thing that Uranus stands for, as well as Aquarius, is community. It stands for new technologies, new discoveries, new advancement. It can shake us out of our comfort zone when we have big transits like this. So if we've been in a comfort zone and we've been going along with something that isn't necessarily working, this kind of shakes it up. So around about this time, there's a good chance that we're going to be seeing more civil unrest, more people standing up for their rights, more people marching and protesting. It's not always covered by all the news channels, but it is happening all over the world. People are saying no to certain things that are being imposed on them. They're standing in their sovereignty and saying, we don't want to do this. And they're kind of being coerced in a large degree in many respects. And it's really about asking ourselves what our truth is, what our sense of freedom is, and are we prepared to be controlled? That's a very big question on the lips of a lot of people at the moment. So I think that this is bringing this out even more. For me, what it's calling on us to do is to really open to higher awareness, open to information from higher sources. The Aquarian Uranian energy allows us to actually see that this reality that we call reality is not necessarily all of it. Aquarius is a sign that rules energy work, alternative healing, alternative methods of growing food, eating food, alternative ways of living in community, for example. And I really feel quite strongly that this is a time when we need to really throw out all our old conditioned beliefs about what's right, what's wrong, what's traditionally seen as the right thing to do, and really open up to what's possible, what's a new vision for our lives. And I do believe that we're actually going back to community. I think there's going to be a major change in the way we live, in the way we process food, in our monetary system. Uranus is passing through the sign of Taurus, which rules our food and our money and our land holdings. So I think that there's going to be major changes in those areas. There already are, but there are going to be more, as well as the monetary systems. The monetary systems are changing as well. So all those old systems are kind of moving and shifting and changing before our eyes. What we thought was going to be like that forever, turns out isn't going to be like that forever. If we had a vision for our lives that was kind of set in stone, we're realizing that maybe not. Maybe I've got to relook at that. Maybe I've got to open myself up to what needs to arise, rather than trying to hold onto the steering wheel too tightly and trying to control everything. So that's what really this full moon is bringing about. I think it's really bringing it out into the open. So what's it telling us? It's telling us to look at our perspectives, to open our perspective, to look at things from a different perspective, to be prepared to see both sides of the story, to see things in shades of grey rather than black or white, or good or bad, or right or wrong, and to kind of hold a space for emerging of a new consciousness. That's what this is. This is the emerging of a new earth. But we need to see first what doesn't work in the old systems. So that's really what I see as happening, and this is a very big culmination of that. It's about trusting our intuition. It's about trusting that we are much more than just this human body, that we are actually energetic beings, that we have a role to play in creating our future by our thoughts, by what we're putting our attention on, by what we're focusing on any one moment. So if we find that we are focusing on the future and worrying about the future, that's not serving us in this moment. Or the past. Are we latching onto the past and, regretting the things that we haven't done? It's really calling on us to be present, to be in the now, to really look at a vision, our new vision for the future, not defining it by our old visions of the future. It's calling for a whole new vision a whole new way of being, a whole new way of working with power, a whole new way of working with each other, a whole new way of collaborating together as a unit, possibly going back to older values where we're actually living much more closely and less globally. That's also part of this I see as the future. And in order to actually embrace that, we're probably going to have to let go of a whole lot of our old conditioning and expectations. That's the way I see this. I think it's a very powerful full moon. I think it's a very powerful full moon to break free of the restrictions, the traditions, the core values that may not be serving us, may not have served us for a long time, to try something new, to try something in a different way that you haven't done. And the area that you'll be wanting to break free will be the area in your chart where there's kind of the mid degrees of Taurus, because that's where Uranus is moving through, and that's where it's going to be retrograding. So if you look at your chart, you can actually see where that degree is, and that'll be the area in your life where you most need to let go, to release, to change, to revolutionize. What is it in your life that you want to revolutionize? What isn't working for you? Where are you stuck? Where can you get out of the box? What are the boxes that are holding you? What if those boxes didn't exist? What if there weren't any boxes? What if you could actually be free? What would that look like? What would that feel like? What would that taste like? That's what this full moon's about. It's very potent. And I believe it's an opening. It's another opening along with the Lion's Gate portal at the new moon. This is another opening to higher levels of consciousness. So you might very well get downloads intuitively where you might not have got them before. Just suddenly, flashes of insight. That's very Uranian, very Aquarian. So watch out for those. Do some journaling. Do a little ritual to release that which you don't need. Always good at full moon to do a releasing ceremony. Drop those things that you don't need, whether they're mental constructs, whether they're physical things, whether they're relationships that really don't serve you, whether they're viewpoints that don't serve you, whether it's a job that might not serve you. Especially if you're in crisis, you might find that you feel that you're in crisis, and maybe that crisis isn't a crisis. Maybe it's an opportunity for something new. Maybe it's opening the way for something new and something that you couldn't have dreamed of in your wildest dreams had it not happened. What if? What if that's what's actually happening here? It's a much more empowering way of looking at it than looking at it as, oh my goodness, there's just crisis everywhere we look and everything's crumbling. Yes, things are crumbling to a large degree, but I believe they're making way for something new. So what is it for you? And are you ready to shift? Are you ready to awaken? That's the big question. So have a beautiful full moon. It's on a Sunday, so maybe you can do something creative. Maybe you can get outside, nurture yourself. We don't have a lot of water at this full moon, so we need to actually bring that in the form of nurturing, in the form of stillness. I said in the beginning that it could be quite blustery. It could be quite blustery, and we might see a lot of activity out there in the world, and possibly a lot more craziness and possibly a lot more noise. It's like the volume is getting turned up. So where do we find the peace? We find the peace here, now, but just bringing ourselves back over and over as many times as we need to during the day. And if you can't sleep at night, do the same thing. Bring yourself back. Bring yourself back to your breath. Bring yourself back to those things that you know work in relaxing you and bringing yourself into peace. Step inside the middle of the wheel, into the center point, as opposed to spinning around and spinning out on the outside. So important right now. And that's how we keep our frequency aligned. And that's how we stay sane in the middle of all the madness. Thank you for listening. And if you'd like to see where this is playing out in your chart, you can book a session with me. I've got a few-week delay. We're heading off to Hogsback on the weekend for a beautiful reboot retreat, which is going to be happening at the end of the month from the 27th to the 31st. So if you feel like doing something out of the blue, you might want to join us there. There are still some spaces left. Hogsback's a magical place. So if you feel tired and worn out and you feel like a real reboot, maybe you could treat yourself. Just saying. And we've also just started a journey to freedom. We're in the Life Vision Week right now, and there's still time to join. So if you haven't heard about it and you haven't looked at it, there's still time to join. We start the actual full journey on Tuesday, Monday night, Tuesday. So we've had a Zoom call. We'll have another one on Monday night, this coming Monday night. And then week 1 starts after that. So there is time to join. And this is very much aligned with this new vision, finding a new vision for our lives. And again, you're always welcome to join us on our ongoing support community Inner Space, which we have 2 Zoom calls a month, and you have a lot of beautiful gifts. You have creative exercises and journaling questions, and we're building up really, that's our Inner Space community, which is where we hold a space for support and we are actually building up a community there. It's a beautiful, really supportive community. And I think that's what we need in these times, is to know that we're not alone and that we have got supportive, like-minded people with us and behind us. And if you don't want to do any of those things, but you do want a little bit more support, we do a weekly live. We do that on Facebook Live every Sunday night from 7:30 to 8:30, and that's free, and we take you through a meditation, two meditations, and we usually talk about a theme there as well. So you're most welcome to join us there. You can sign up to join our WhatsApp group, where you get WhatsApp notifications on those things and on anything else that we might be doing, so that you stay in the loop. Thanks so much for listening. Have a beautiful weekend and an amazing, powerful, conscious, expansive, awakening full moon. Thanks, everyone.